like for me right now? What does it look like to serve others? And I would suggest that even though we are at home and even though we're not necessarily in the physical presence of other people very often, perhaps some of you might be, but uh, despite our circumstances, there's actually a lot of different ways that we can steward our lives for the glory of God right now, steward our time, our talents, and our treasures, and serve others. And um, obviously, we can pray for one another, and that's extremely important and powerful and effective. And another important way I think we can and should be serving one another right now is through encouraging one another. I was thinking back about the sermon I preached in Acts chapter 20, where the whole thing is about how Paul encourages Christians. It's his whole point of traveling on that mission trip was just to be an encouragement. And he tells us to do the same thing. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 11, it says, "Therefore encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing." And so have you considered during this coronavirus quarantine how you can be an encouragement to others through your words and through your actions? Specifically, we have many avenues by which we can use our words and our time to encourage one another right now, through phone calls, through postcards, through emails, through Zoom, through FaceTime, through Facebook, and I'm sure you who are much hipper than I with all the apps know many other ways that we can encourage each other with our words. But this is what I would say during this time: don't waste your words. Use your words to encourage the church, to build up the church, to build up the faith of other Christians, to encourage other Christians to persevere, to give words of life to others, because we all need encouragement right now. I want to share this graphic with you, just this graphic that I used in my sermon when I was preaching through Acts 20, just the comparison between being an encouraging person versus a discouraging person. Discouraging actions and words are being harsh toward or critical of one another, whereas encouraging is being gentle and complimentary of one another. Discouraging is being angry with one another. Encouraging is being calm with one another. Discouraging is envying one another. Encouraging is being happy for one another. Discouraging is disrespecting one another. Encouraging is respecting one another. Discouraging is avoiding one another. Encouraging is greeting one another. Discouraging is being too busy for one another. Encouraging is making time for one another. Discouraging is puffing up ourselves up in front of one another, while encouraging is humbling ourselves before one another. Discouraging is squeezing the life out of one another. Encouraging is filling one another with life. Discouraging is showing no patience with one another. Encouraging is being patient with one another. Discouraging is gossiping about one another. And encouraging is speaking well of one another or not speaking at all. So I would, in light of this chart, in light of the biblical command to be an encouragement to one another from Paul, in light of Paul's example, and of the message of encouragement to us through the gospel of Jesus Christ, that God loves us and that He is in control, and that that all things work together for the good of those who love God and who have been called according to His purpose. We just need to keep reminding each other of these promises. Think about those people in our church who might be going through difficult situations right now, who might be, in a house full of kids and struggling through how to figure out all of this new teaching stuff online. And think of the people who are alone at this time in our church body and aren't getting many phone calls or processing this by themselves. How can you check in on them and be an encouragement to them? We love you, and I hope you would keep this in mind, and that you would just remember that you are Christ's ambassadors, and Christ wants to use you to be an encouragement to others during this time. Thanks.